Okay, welcome back to Season 3. Obviously, it's Week 3 about to approach. First of all, let's just do a recap of Week 2 with my results and what I went for, and the reasons I went for it, and whether or not it paid off. Now, clearly, you know it's not paid off because I wasn't 100%, but that's 3 FP weeks for you. Big difference is I went with ALG to be Allegiance to beat Denial. Didn't work out, ended up being a split there. Enemy versus Denial, I expected Enemy to win. Denial split it again, so as you can see, I expected Denial to lose both those games. I guess I've got to improve on my expectations of Denial in the next week, potentially, especially after them taking games off both those two. I expected Denial to suffer a lot more than they did. Because realistically, I expect them to suffer with having Xenotronics in mid and Skeletron in the jungle. I thought it'd take a little bit longer for them to get themselves going, so I expected them to drop games there, and they didn't, which is great news for them. And the final game that I dropped that week was the LG versus Envy game, which I expected a split for. I thought LG definitely would step up a little bit more this week. I didn't expect them to step up as much as they did in 2-0, as dominantly as they did. So then we get into Week 3. Now, before we go into Week 3, we'll quickly just bop this up. We'll see exactly, as soon as I fix this to the screen size, there you go. See exactly where we were. So last week, this is where I had everybody in the order of running. Obviously, it's not the same as the start of the season. You can still see that on my Twitter if you want to check where I put everyone at the start of the season. But this is where I expected everyone to be after last week's performance. So when we actually look through all the games that actually happened last week, two teams, first of all, didn't do anything that week because they both had bye weeks. So Eagers won, and obviously... oh, who was it? I believe it's top. Was it? No, it's Dignitas that didn't play that week. So those two teams didn't really actually do anything that week. So for the most part, they'll stay in position unless something crazy happens to the other teams that put people above them. Start at the top. Split with Saw and split with LG by Envy, which means that Saw and LG had rated below them. However, that should probably change considering they lost to LG and they split with Envy. Sorry, split with Saw. So, with my eyes of how this is going to be now, we're probably going to see LG switch up to the top. It's probably going to be like this, I'd guess. I'm going to go that, and that right about now. Just basically. So down here is where we're going to see the changes. Envy will move down just because they lost to LG, and also because they split with Saw. Saw will still stay around there, though. Whether we put Saw or LG at the top right now is an interesting one. Maybe we should probably look at doing that just for the time being, but even though we've not really seen too much out of Saw, we've seen enough to see what LG were like at the start of the season. But I think I'm going to stick actually with this for the time being. That's kind of how things are probably going to look in the league for now. Eager stays with the R, so they'll still be down here. Enemy beat Randozos, so they'll be fine. It's not an unexpected result for them to beat Randozos. Denial split with Allegiance. They also split with somebody else as well, who I got wrong, and I can't remember who it was now. Let me just quickly check. It was... where was it? It was Allegiance. So a split with Enemy and a split with Allegiance for them means that I'm probably going to leave them exactly where they are. I don't think they can really climb anymore. Same with Denial. Denial split with Enemy, who Enemy beat LG, so that's why they're above there. And Allegiance, well, they got the split with Denial, but Denial technically have one more game so far, so that's why I've kind of left them there. Maybe that can switch up between Denial and Allegiance. We'll see. See how Allegiance performance is against Enemy if it's this week. Over in Europe, things to talk about in Europe, really. Pantera beat Paradigm, so they're going to stay number 1. Paradigm's still number 2 after their performances. I don't see a sign of them slipping down. Fnatic beat Cringe Crew, which, as you can see, this order here is pretty much going to stay identical right about now. The only thing that could potentially happen here is Dignitas moves up, but because they didn't play this week, I don't really want to do that. But Dignitas could technically move up one place above Leftovers just because they split with Torpedo. Cringe Crew beat Hungry for More, which was kind of expected based off this, and split with Fnatic, which is kind of based off this. So we're going to pretty much leave Europe exactly as it was last week. There's no reason to change anything when we go into this week. So we'll keep coming back to this just to do a games if we need to actually have a look over the games and see exactly what's going to happen here. So let's go into the games for the week, and then we can discuss exactly what's going to happen here. Bing Bang Bosh, they're on your screen now. Let's start at the beginning of the week. Enemy versus Allegiance. 1 and 3 and 5 and 1 is a telltale sign straight away of what could potentially happen in this game. Allegiance did have a good performance last week against Denial. Enemy's about that sort of level of team as Denial based on the split that those two teams had. So Allegiance could take a game here as well. However, Enemy's playing very, very strong right now. I'm going to go split. I'm actually going to go split for this game. I could favour Enemy But based on the fact that they split with Denial, and Denial and Allegiance are about the same sort of level, Denial also split with Allegiance. I think this could be an interesting one where we'll see a split there too. Saw versus Denial, I think that's going to be a different story here. Denial are playing very strong, and even though I'm not been giving Denial enough credit lately, I think against Saw they're going to probably struggle a little bit more. I think Saw are more of an established team right now, as Denial have shown themselves. But Saw game 2, considering they took on Envy last week, this should be an easy opposition for Saw, especially after the performance they showed during those games. Envy versus Randozos is the next one up. Not really going to talk about that one. Basically, the moment Randozos, I think, are just going to struggle for the beginning of the season. I expect them to take games off people towards the mid to late stages of the first split, but for now, it's pretty much wins for teams against them, apart from maybe the lower end could be a bit more interesting. On to the fourth game of Thursday, LG versus Eager. My oh my, what an interesting predicament here. Well, when we first look at this, we need to look back at previous results, okay, just to work it out. LG lost to Enemy, but they beat Envy. Eager lost to, I want to say they lost to, I should know this. Eager lost to Envy, which is what LG beat, which means that LG should beat these as well, right, on paper. Eager did beat Allegiance, though, 2-0. So, my favourite here is going to be Luminosity. Makes pretty much sense when you look at it that way, that Envy beat them 2-0 and didn't beat LG. So it's going to be basically the telltale signs for that one. Could be a split. Could see Eager take a game there. Eager do come in with a game plan. It didn't work out against Envy in that first week, though, so maybe they'll have something different in mind up against LG. Will they focus Snoopy, who played a lot better this week, to be fair, getting his role pretty well now. The whole team of LG looked very, very strong this week, so I'm going to go with LG. On to Friday, where Europe happens. Paradigm versus Leftovers. I think Leftovers are pretty strong right now. Definitely playing ahead of what everyone expected them to do. I expect them to be around 4th this year, 4th or 5th, I'd say, dependent on how Cringe Crew do and Fnatic do for the rest of the year. However, Paradigm for me should win this one 2-0, I want to say. I think it'll be close games there, but I definitely think Paradigm will 2-0 that one. Hungry for More versus Torpedo Gaming. Now, when we look at the results from these two teams as well, you'll see Hungry for More's like not won either of their sets so far, up against Leftovers and up against Cringe Crew. Wherever Torpedo Gaming, I believe they split last week. Where were they? Torpedo versus Leftovers, they split. So that kind of tells me that Torpedo should have the edge over Hungry for More here. However, I think this could be the first game we see Hungry for More pick up a game. Not to detract from Torpedo, but I think we'll see a split here between Hungry for More and Torpedo. This is probably one of the toughest ones of the week to really call, honestly, of that one. Next up, Pantera versus Fnatic. Bop. Job done, right? I mean, just don't bet against them. Don't bet against them at all. Pretty much, I expect Pantera to almost clean sweep this year. I expect them to drop a game somewhere, but it's still worth investing in them the whole time. Cringe Crew versus Dignitas is definitely an interesting game. Really interesting game. The strengths of Cringe Crew right now, honestly, are probably their support, which a lot of people underestimate, and some people don't even like in a Millsy, and their solo laner in Zashu, who's playing a lot stronger. Well, when you look at Dignitas, they've got Suntouch, who's new to the role, still adapting, played a good performance during the split. However, their solo lane, Dark Dodo, only really played Chang'e in those two games, and I think Zashu could try and abuse that one. We did see them play pretty well, honestly, up against Variety and the boys of Hungry for More. And obviously, they beat Hungry for More 2-0. They've also, the week before, they lost to Leftovers. Sorry, not to Leftovers. They didn't play the first week. They split with Fnatic. I think I expect to see Cringe Crew being quite high up there. I'm going to go for the 2-0 with Cringe Crew here. I don't really see it going any much more different than that, to be fair. There's a chance Dick could take one, though, in fairness. Next up is Paradigm on Saturday versus Dignitas. So Dignitas has got 2 games back-to-back. Definitely giving that one to Paradigm. I couldn't say going to be close, but I think Paradigm is definitely a number 2 seed in Europe right now, definitely just behind Pantera. Pantera just in the zone. Unless they can work out something special against Paradigm, I think Dignitas is going to struggle there. Maybe they'll pick up a game Dignitas against Cringe Crew, we'll see. But for now, my money's definitely going that way. On to Sunday, we've only got that one game, Envy versus Allegiance. My oh my, it's an interesting game, but it's going to go that way. Clean Envy 1 there. And then finally, on Monday, this is a much quicker week for me to do because I don't have to go into too much detail. There's not much has changed in shaking of the rosters right now in terms of everybody moving around. Will be Pantera up against Cringe Crew. So far in my week, I've got one split, two splits, and I expect the others to be pretty much realistic of where we expect to see. Maybe one or two could be a little bit closer than expected. I'm probably going to detail a bit about them. But if I actually just bring up that thing once again, now that you've had a little look at those, and you'll see exactly what I mean. Nothing really changed in the standings from last week, so your expectations, at least for me, should be based on where I've got them in the table of, like, at the moment. If one of these teams win this week or upset, obviously they'll move up and down, but nothing really changed from week 2 to week 3 of where I based them. The only real difference is LG moved up and Envy moved down pretty much. That was the only real thing on both regions. EU kind of went as expected last week based off the week before, and so did NA for the most part. Will things change this week? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Well, ask in YouTube chat or tweet at me if you don't believe me or you don't agree with me. You're allowed your own opinions. However, I expect it's more likely free FP week this week as well, because last week was pretty much free. Let's be honest, there was only one or two that was kind of crazy, and when you actually see the craziness of it, I ended up, I think it was 7 of 9, so I'm already one better than the week before. No, I wasn't 7 of 9. I'm lying. 1, 2, 3 dropped. Feels bad, man. 6 of 9 again, I guess. Oh well. Feels bad. Can we improve this week? We'll find out. I expect so with this run of games. Some very good competition though. I will say that. Even though I expect these games to go a certain way, I do feel that some of these games will be highly, highly touted as some of the best games we could see this week for sure. There's a lot of good games on there, and they'll be very close. Even though I expect wins out of certain teams. In the meantime, enjoy yourself. If you like these sort of videos, just subscribe or click follow or whatever you do on YouTube. I don't know. I just put these out for your entertainment because everyone always asks me to. In the meantime, peace. Take it easy. I'll see you all next week for Predictions Week 4.